You can do some great things on that. Brands want more control sometimes. When it's the right fit, they want that ability to really scale and not be held back. With Shopify, you're limited to what you're able to do. You can do a lot of things, but you will see certain brands hit the ceiling and they get frustrated and they want a little more of that control back. So and that's where we'll
Yeah.
see people move back over to Woo because you have that flexibility to pretty much do whatever you want. It's the gift and the curse. You can do whatever you want,
Hmm.
but then you can also do whatever you want and you can really get, and that's where having a really good partner comes in that can guide them and let them do. So if you're trying to do it yourself, Shopify is definitely the way. It makes it easier. But when you get a good partner in there and they can guide you what you can do, I truly think, that's the fit for them. So they really have to like step back and like, what do you want? And like really think long term. Because if you short term think, you can get stuck into a platform that's not the best fit for you after you've rolled out and implemented and been on there for a while. So and that's where you gotta think long term. But that's really where I've seen this shift over the years while I've been at different platforms.
Interesting. Yeah. So tagging onto that, when do you think a brand does outgrow its current platform, and what signals should they look for to know it's time to move to like an enterprise grade solution, like, you know, maybe VIP or a larger WooCommerce stack?
That's definitely, you want to make sure you're watching visitors and resources and, if you're having downtime and you're seeing spikes and really you want to watch that because the last thing you want to do is go viral and then have your site crash. So really what you want to do is you got to plan ahead. Like everyone's got to be in line. So like, what is marketing doing? How are you driving your SEO? How are you driving your content strategy? Because if all that stuff's happening, you want to make sure you're planning in advance. And coming from the influencer space before I was at Automattic, you can see that. And if you cast a wide net with your influencers, one can take off and it only takes one to get that spike to come in to crash. And a good example of that is, Shark Tank. You see those sites go down all the time when they get on there. And for these bigger
Sure.
brands, if they're going out and, you know, putting a lot of lines in the water and then something goes and that spark goes off, they want to plan for it in advance because, it just takes that, you only get one chance to make a first impression. If your site's down when someone goes, they've moved on to the next 10 things that they're doing. So it really
Yeah.
comes to make sure everybody's in line and you're planning ahead for what you're doing. Um, and if marketing is going to scale, you need to make sure your platforms are going to scale with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. We've done a little bit with that, particularly with a computer gaming company. We worked with a company called Main Gear, and they had done some partnerships with an influencer, like a streamer, and we're doing a co-branded launch. And we had to like stabilize their website, get their hosting all dialed in, and make sure WooCommerce was going to handle it. So man, it was quite the experience, but the servers held strong. But all that came down to the preparation ahead of time. We made sure that we were kind of batting down the hatches for them and allowed the scalability. So, and their site did really well through all of that. So yeah, I see that. And most of those sites, or rather those companies that are on Shark Tank, I see they're probably on Shopify because it's just easy to get online that way. And I think in few cases they're on WooCommerce. So that's an interesting kind of a look at, when those types of things happen.